Alright, you want a part 3? You got a part 3. Welcome back, Nerd Squad. This is Top 10 Nerd and I am your host Amanda McKnight, and that is right, we are back with another Top 10 newest X-Men characters you need to know about. Part 3! Anyone for a part 4? Let me know in the comments. Cause if you can believe it, I still somehow have a few more new X-Men character additions that I would love to tell you about. But for now, let's jump into this part 3. Number 10, the Vescora. The Vescora are more than just one character. They are a bunch of them. They made their first appearance in 2020's Cable issue 5, where they appeared as an antagonistic alien race. Although we haven't seen them since, really. I'm still of the mind that the Vescora will return, and perhaps that they never really left, but managed to infect either Scott Summers or Jean Grey, or possibly both, and are laying dormant waiting for a moment to strike. Of course, it's been a while now since we've seen them, so this probably isn't what happened. But either way, I would not be surprised if we saw them again. The Vescora were the reason that S.W.O.R.D. initially went offline and disappeared. Their goal is to travel the cosmos looking for new worlds to absorb into their collective consciousness, learning everything they can about them before completely cleansing said world or possibly universe, wiping out everything within its existence. Should admit, I don't know if they came from another world or another dimension. The portal that they come through kind of implies that they perhaps came from another dimension, but yeah, we haven't seen a lot of them. Number 9, Famine. Famine is another of Apocalypse's children, and originally 4 horsemen. Unlike Death, who I mentioned on our part 2 of this series, Famine was not as deeply involved in the Otherworld tournament, so we haven't got to know them quite as well as some of his more predominantly featured siblings. Famine, instead of being directly involved as a champion of Arakko in the Otherworld tournament featured in the Ten of Swords event, stayed behind instead to act as a representative and witness on behalf of Amenth and Arakko, watching the tournament unfold as a guest of Saturnine, there to witness the tournament and kind of argue about things going on. There was some of that happening. Number 8, Pestilence. Pestilence is the daughter of Apocalypse and another member of the original 4 horsemen. Pestilence probably has my favorite character design of all of Apocalypse's children, wearing a sun disk headdress atop her head that covers half of her face. Initially, I thought her head was just actually half sun disk, which greatly informed the way I imagined her character's voice in my mind, to be honest. But I'm still gonna keep it like that in my mind. I wish I could put you in there so you could hear her voice, but I can't. And I definitely can't do a very good impression of it right now on the fly. But I'll work on that for the future. Pestilence is another of Apocalypse's children that we kinda know less about, not actively participating in the Otherworld tournament in the Ten of Swords either, and also acting as a representative of Arakko and Amenth. However, both Pestilence and Famine did get involved near the end of the Ten of Swords event, when an all-out war broke out between the mutants of Krakoa and the demons and mutants of Amenth and Arakko. And friends, before we move on to this next spot, if you are loving this list, if you want that part 4, and you want to go crazy with me and talk about even more mutants, be sure to let us know by giving this video a thumbs up. Also let us know in the comments. Also maybe share it. I don't know. Number 7, Ultimaton. Ultimaton actually isn't a new character in the sense of his first appearance, but we did get some new revelations that changes the way that we see his character and definitely makes him feel newly revitalized in terms of lore. Ultimaton's true identity has been unknown for years. Also, I hope I'm saying that right. We're talking over a decade in terms of comic book history of us not knowing who this really is. But in the recent giant-sized Phantom X, which came out in August last year, 2020 if you're watching this into the far future, we learned who Ultimaton really was, as the old villain created by Grant Morrison and Chris Bachalo back in 2003 finally became unmasked. Turns out that Ultimaton is closely related to Phantom X himself, being his identical brother who was also created in the world. One of the many attempts to create a perfect specimen by AIM. But unlike Phantom X, he wanted to stay in the world. He's like, I don't want to stay here, I'm good. Number 6, Sara St. John. Although another seeming non-mutant, Sara St. John could definitely be a huge person of interest moving forward in the new X-Corp comic. Also, this comic was probably my most anticipated new X book in terms of all of the ones we've had announced up till this point. I was just so excited for a business-focused series, plus the return of the X Corporation, plus Angel and Monet both getting to have their time in the spotlight as the main characters of this book. And I gotta say, so far it has not disappointed me, even with all my extra hype about it. X-Corp issue 2 is the Hellfire Gala issue, where the newly relaunched X-Corp team are holding meetings with those interested in investing or otherwise helping the corporation along, making partnerships with them or working for them, you know what I mean? One meeting they don't really manage to get to until it's too late is with Sara St. John, a representative of Noblesse less pharmaceuticals. Sara proves to be charming when they do meet up, and is the only human who reached out to X-Corp to arrange a meeting during the evening of the gala, should be noted. However, it's revealed that she already made a possibly lucrative size deal with the newly formed and antagonistic to X-Corp group, Fenris Consulting, owned by the mutant Von Strucker twins Andrea and Andreas. Number 5. Children of the Vault 4.0. That's right, we're talking 4th generation Children of the Vault. It's getting real, baby! While the Children of the Vault may not be a new group, each time they return to the Vault, they're generally upgraded, and basically a new version of the team is produced. A new generation, if you will. Initially, with all the information the Vault had acquired, it was only able to evolve them to a 3rd generation, which already was really impressive and powerful. However, after acquiring Darwin's genetic material for study, they were able to evolve even past that final stage, giving us the unstoppable 4th generation of the Children of the Vault. We saw this evolution of the team in 2019's X-Men issue 19, and boy are they scary. I cannot wait to see the X-Men face them again in the future. I'm sure that's gonna happen. I love when I see things in just the X books in general and I'm like, oh, this is gonna be a huge problem later down the line. Krakoa has so many enemies, it's crazy. Number 4. Solem. Solem is the one that I initially expected Wolverine to fight in the Ten of Swords event. I mean, I think we all did. But he didn't really. Solem is one of the sword bearers of Arakko who was actually imprisoned when he was recruited. He was imprisoned because he had killed Bracken, War's husband, so War was initially reluctant in recruiting him, even more so when Solem acted as though he was actually greatly needed and should not only be freed for serving as a champion of Arakko in the Otherworld tournament, but also deserved to receive rewards and gifts for his service. Solem's powers as a mutant of Arakko grant him super strength and durability. His mutation is that he has adamantium skin. You can see then how he'd make a great match for Logan and why we were all expecting it to happen. Solem first appeared in 2020's Wolverine in issue 6. He ended up teaming up with Wolverine and went to hell when they both went to retrieve their blades needed to compete. Because they were in hell, because Muramasa blades. As expected, he makes his return in Wolverine, where he ends up stealing Logan's Muramasa blade, which Wolverine used in, of course, the tournament. So now Solem has 2 Muramasa blades. And everybody else has 0 Muramasa blades. Number 3. Ned. So you might all be thinking that I am crazy for putting Ned so high up on this list, but he's just so great. Honestly, you need to know about him just because of how hilarious and how great Ned is. Ned is a lackey of Ames who ends up being recruited by Phantom X to return to the world in an effort to save Storm. Because, well, Ned has super important AIM knowledge, or something like that. Ned ends up joining them in an attempt to save Storm from a version of the techno-organic virus, as Storm would rather save herself than give up to be killed off and resurrected by the Five. Which also, Storm is such a badass. Ned was also important enough to get an invite to the Hellfire Gala, where even after, I assume, receiving his payout from Phantom X to betray AIM, he was still wearing his AIM suit for some reason. Also, I love his appearance at the Hellfire Gala. If you haven't checked out all those issues, you should go and just look who's in the background, because there's a lot of little treats for all y'all that might have been reading all the X books. Ned makes his first appearance in Giant Size Phantom X, and then of course returns when we see them go actually back to the world in Giant Size Storm. Number 2. War. War is another child of Apocalypse, and the final member that I'll have touched on of the original 4 Horsemen. The final one, if you will. Unlike Famine and Pestilence, War did participate in the Otherworld tournament alongside her brother Death. War lost her match despite her unbridled rage because of the wonderful weirdness that was the Ten of Swords event, being a tournament that was led by the mischievous and unpredictable White Witch Saturnine. War ended up actually having to face off against one of her fellow sword bearers, Solem. However, Solem, knowing that War obviously really hates him because Solem killed War's husband, took this opportunity to call in a favor owed to him by Wolverine, and so Wolverine actually had to step in for Solem in the match. Solem then revealed that Wolverine was actually the one to have defeated her son in a battle to the death during that match, which of course made War furious with grief and rage. Her anger, while initially making her appear stronger, actually ended up making her vulnerable to an attack from Wolverine, and he managed to cut off her hand and win the match for Solem, gaining a point for Arakko, unfortunately, with his victory, even though he won. Bittersweet. Number 1. Summoner. Summoner was actually the character featured on our part 2 thumbnail, so for those who wondered who that was, here's your full answer. Summoner is the grandson of Apocalypse and the son of War and Bracken. However, Summoner is one of the characters who did not survive the Otherworld tournament. Summoner was one of Arako's sword bearers and champions. He faced off with Wolverine in 10 of Swords in the Otherworld tournament and lost against Logan, being killed with the Muramasa blade. Though it should be noted their fight against one another was pretty epic. Definitely a great read. You can check out that battle in 2020's Wolverine in issue 7. Summoner was a summoner, hence his name. He was able to summon and control the dark beasts of Arako, elementals, and demons. It should also be noted that Summoner also betrayed Krakoa, pretending to be a friend and then being like, yeah, I'm just here to actually backstab my grandpa Apocalypse and backstab all you mutants because we want to take over Krakoa. Hey. He didn't thumbs up anybody after though, just to be clear. Who are some of your favorite newest X-Men related characters? Which New Mutants are you most interested in learning more about? What comics are you reading lately, both within and without the world of mutants? Let us know in the comments below. And speaking of comments, it is time to turn to some comments from one of our latest videos, Top 10 Newest X-Men Characters You Need to Know About Part 2. Matthew Maury comments, glad to see you again. I was worried I had not seen you in a vid for a week or so. Hope everything is going well for you and that you are happy, safe, and healthy. Oh, thank you so much, Matthew. What a nice message. I am happy, safe, and healthy, but there are many weddings, and so if you don't see me for a while, it's probably just because I'm going to a lot of weddings. Sklass Psycho observes, Pale Girl looks like a female version of Dream of the Endless Daniel. She does look a lot like Daniel. I didn't realize that until you said it, but she does look a lot like Dream Daniel. Dream that is Daniel, not to be confused with the other Dream who came before. Long pause as Amanda goes back in her mind to remember all the Sandman characters' names. Joseph Alonso asks, at Amanda, to me, Horticulture's outfits all look very steampunk-esque. So much so I've started calling them the Robotanists, as like a schnazzy nickname. What are your thoughts about it? I can definitely see it, and I also love the nickname Robotanists because it just sounds super cool. However, I do think they need more goggles for them to be super steampunky, so more goggles all around, I think. Goggles on goggles. That's how you be the most steampunk. And that's all the time we have for comments today. Be sure to comment below for a chance to have your thoughts and feels shouted out in a future video. This has been Top 10 Nerd, and I am your host Amanda McKnight, reminding you till next time to stay nerdy, YouTube.